Pariprajacharya Astutara Sata Shishimachila Vaichana Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Krishna Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devam Gaurani Pachami Shri Sri Thank you all so much for coming, and thank you for the temple for inviting me to speak today. And I'll start with a few prayers, but I just wanted to tell you that the title of this talk is Self-Reflections in an In-Between Time. So you can think about that for a moment while I just say a few prayers. To the line of teachers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Salakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschataveshakarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kriyasindhurevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm just wondering if that kind person who was passing around pillows could make sure that I'm looking at cold feet. So that person, that kind person, can you make sure that people don't have cold feet? Otherwise, cold feet, they won't be able to listen very well, right? So I want to share one other prayer. This is a prayer that I love. This is from Prahlad Maharaj from the 5th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. So listen to this. I hope you like this prayer. I'll say the Sanskrit and then I'll say the English. So as people walk in, make sure there's no cold feet, okay? Cold, what is it? Cold feet, warm hearts? I don't know. Okay. Svasyastu visvasya kalau prasidatam danyantu bhutani shivam mitodya Manascha Bhadram Bhajatar Homsaje Aveshatam No Matirapya Hoituki. May the entire universe be blessed with peace and good hope. May everyone driven by envy and enmity become pacified and reconciled. May all living beings develop abiding concern for the welfare of others. May our own hearts and minds be filled with purity and serenity. May all these blessings flow naturally from this supreme benediction. May our attention become spontaneously absorbed in the rapture of pure love unto the transcendent Lord. So again, thank you all for being here. Such a nice day, a beautiful day to come to the temple, isn't it? Some people around here are really tough and come when it's really cold. But so yeah, I was reflecting that to me this is a very sacred in-between time, this time between the appearance day of Lord Nityananda and the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya. And there are two quintessential verses from our tradition that mention both of them together. There are many, many verses that glorify each one of them. But there are two verses that glorify the two of them together. So I want to share these two verses. The first one is the second verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It goes like this: Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gaudaudade Pushpavantra Chitra Sandakta Monida. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gauda, which means Bengal, to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. And here's the second one. This is the first verse of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. It has a beautiful kind of a lilting rhythm, so I hope you like it. I'll say it in Sanskrit and then in English. Ajanulam vitabujo kanaka vadato Sankirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Daksho Vishwambara Dvijabaro Yugadharma Pado Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunataro. So you might think, well, I don't understand that language, why are we saying it? But it has a very purifying power to just even hear the sound of the Sanskrit. So here's the English translation. I worship their lordships, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, whose long arms extend down to their knees, whose beautiful complexions are radiant yellow like molten gold, and whose elongated eyes are like red lotuses. They are the topmost brahmanas, the guardians of religious principles for this age, the most munificent benefactors of all living entities, and the most compassionate incarnations of Godhead. They initiated the congregational chanting of the names of Lord Krishna. If you have a phone, please put it on me. Okay? So I've been thinking about both of them in this in-between time, and I wrote a little reflection. Here's what I wrote. In this in-between time, the rising of the sun and moon, or two suns rising in the sky together in this in-between time. Lord Nityananda, his feet more cooling than a million moons. Lord Chaitanya's moon rising, eclipsing all sorrows of this world. In this in-between time, reflecting on their shining, darkness cannot stand in their shining. In this in-between time, do not fear the light they shine. Do not neglect their gifts sublime. Gifts given freely, often taken cheaply. In this in-between time, drink deeply. So yeah, I've been reflecting on this in-between time. And since I thought of this topic of an in-between time, some people heard that I was going to be speaking, some devotees heard that I was going to be speaking about this and reached out to me. And people have been saying, actually many people are in a difficult in-between situation right now, right? Especially here in Washington, DC, I mean in many places of the world, but many people in this area work in government, have lost jobs or unsure whether their jobs are secure, even if they've worked for a certain government department or agency for decades. I know some of you work at NIH and National Institutes of Health or in scientific research in different universities. And it's a very in-between, unsure, difficult time. And then, of course, right now in the world, there's war in so many areas. Think of Gaza, Israel, Ukraine, Russia. Now we're hearing about big problems in Africa. There are issues for people from different countries concerning immigration, work, family visas from India. And it's a time of uncertainty, right? Instability in many people's lives. Yeah, and of course, as devotees on the path of bhakti, these are times, always, but especially now, times to reach out to Krishna, to take shelter of Krishna, right? To take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. We're talking about Lord Chaitanya also. And to take shelter, why? Because we realize that the shelters of this world are impermanent, right? They're tottering, right? Traditionally, we would think in terms of job security, right? What's more stable than having a government job? People would, for centuries, right? People would think that, right? But in this world of duality, Srimad Bhagavatam actually describes that fear arises when we think we are part of this external world, when we turn away from the Supreme Lord and we forget that we are eternally His servants. So in this world of duality, what does it mean, duality? Like I'm like a divided self. I'm like partly here and partly there, trying to be on the spiritual path, but yet I have all my responsibilities in this world. Looking at Shara, she's got 4 boys. So in this world of duality, we falsely place ourselves at the center. And the French philosopher Pascal said that when we place ourselves at the center of everything, because we do that, this is very brilliant, I think. He says, because we do that, we are actually unjust people. There are no virtues in us. Reflect on that. Isn't that interesting? Because I falsely, and we all do it, right? Because I falsely put myself in the center, I'm unjust and I have no virtues. And then he says, and what's worse is that we want everyone else in the world to see us like that also. Think about that, right? And so in that way, this is still quoting from him, in that way he says we become obnoxious and intolerable for all other people. That is our difficulty in this world. There's this false duality in the way we see the world and the way we act in the world. So because I'm not really the center and I'm forgetting the actual center, that the actual center is the Supreme Lord, I become frustrated, and because my happiness in this world is temporary. So one poet, do you know this song, Bhaja Hure Mana Shri Nandanandana, by a poet named Rukmini Devi Dasi, a beautiful Bengali song. So he says, happiness here is tottering, like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. Do you ever watch a drop of water on a lotus leaf? If you live in Washington, be sure to, in July, go visit the Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens in Southeast, where all the lotuses are amazingly growing. And you can sprinkle a drop of water on one of those leaves and watch, it hangs for a second, and then it rolls off. So this poet says, yeah, that's the way happiness in this world is. It might hang for a moment, but then it falls off. So my point is that we need to lean in and take shelter of the divine lotus feet of Lord Hari. And here's what he says, this Govinda Das. He says, it's actually a prayer to the mind. It's called Bhaja Hure Mana Shri Nandanandana. He's praying to his mind, please worship. You want to worship so many false things. Kalindi and I were just talking, where's Kalindi? She's there. We were just talking before this class started about how to worry is to worship the problem. So here's what he says. He's instructing his mind not to worry, but just worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda, Krishna, which make one fearless. Having obtained this rare human birth, cross over the ocean of worldly existence through the association of saintly persons. And then he says, both day and night, I remain sleepless, suffering the pains of heat and cold, the wind and the rain. For a fraction of flickering happiness, I have uselessly served wicked and miserly men. What assurance of real happiness is there in all one's wealth, youthfulness, and family numbers? This life is tottering like a drop of water on a lotus petal. Therefore, you should always serve and worship the divine feet of Lord Hari. So, do you like that song? It's beautiful, isn't it? It's so instructive. So we can also pray to our minds, like, why don't you listen to the holy name instead of thinking about what you're going to do next? You know, so it's nice instruction for us. Anyway, so I asked this one devotee I was talking to, he was reflecting on the title of this class, and he comes from a Christian background. Actually, he was a priest at one time. Now he's on the path of bhakti. But so I asked him to pray for this class, and he sent me something very powerful that I want to share with you. Here's what he said, reflecting on this topic of being an in-between time. Right? So he said, Dear Lord Krishna, every day I will bless you, and I will praise your name forever and ever. Thank you for the gifts of so many wise teachers, guides, and mentors on this bhakti path. O seed-bearing Father, like orphans, we find ourselves in a world which is ever-changing, full of miseries, disappointments, and fear, our hopes dashed, and our future uncertain. But you are our strength, shield, and shelter. When anarchy seems to rule, you are the peace that reigns in our hearts. When things seem to be spinning out of control, you are the center that holds. When darkness seems to reign, you are the dawn which breaks and restores our hope. Then he says, help us, like Queen Kunti, to recall the manifold ways you have protected us from the evil devices of wicked men, and consoled by your faithfulness in the past, may we find you anew in our present, holding fast to you as our only future and deliverer. And then he says, may the madness around us drive us to your lotus feet and empower us to serve you and all living beings with ever greater urgency and abandon. Lord, by your grace and mercy, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is, so maybe some of you recognize this is from St. Francis. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Please grant us the wisdom and insight to reawaken the wellspring of joy that is our nature. Illumine our hearts and empower us to be messengers of mercy and heralds of hope. Thank you for considering our request. We surrender to your will. Om Tat Sat. So beautiful, huh? What a gift. Yeah. So yeah, thinking about this in-between time between the appearance of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. In one place, Srila Prabhupada poses a question almost in the voice of a materialistic person. And he says, Prabhupada said, who is this Nityananda? And what can he do for me? Isn't that funny that Prabhupada would say it like that? So we might ask in this in-between time, who are these Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and what can they really do for us, right? Well, Lord Nityananda is Lord Chaitanya's dearmost devotee, and he can recommend you to the service of Lord Chaitanya. He's also the Adi Guru, which means the original Guru. So if you have a Guru, or if you seek a Guru, such a Guru comes by the grace of Lord Nityananda. They are his representatives, right? And what about Lord Chaitanya? Well, Rupa Goswami describes Lord Chaitanya as the most magnanimous of any avatar who ever appeared. Why is that? Because he freely gives what no other avatar has ever given. Pure love of Krishna. And that to us, the most unqualified people in this Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So in case you have your doubts, like maybe this is something made up by Prabhupada or the folks around here, their appearance, Lord Chaitanya's appearance is predicted in scriptures like Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam. Thousands of years ago in Mahabharata, Lord Chaitanya's future appearance is predicted. So here's another Sanskrit verse. It's beautiful, so bear with me. Suvarna varna himango varangas chandanam gadi Sanyasa krich samachchanta nista shanti parayana. The Lord in his incarnation of Gaurachanda, welcome Gaurachandra or Lord Chaitanya, has a golden complexion. His entire body is like molten gold. Sandalwood pulp is smeared all over his body. He will take the fourth order of sannyas and will be very self-controlled. He will be distinguished from Mayavadi sannyasis in that he will be fixed in devotional service and will spread the Sankirtan movement. This is just a quote from Mahabharata that I was just reading. The floor is freezing, so please don't sit on the floor. Find a cushion or find a chair. I don't want to have a frozen audience because I need you to ask some questions at the end. So that's a quote from Mahabharata. And what about Lord Nityananda? Okay, that's a pretty amazing recommendation of Lord Chaitanya, but Lord Nityananda is even more merciful than Lord Chaitanya. Lord Nityananda was personally attacked by Jagai and Madhai, and Lord Chaitanya was furious and wanted to kill them for that. But Lord Nityananda was more merciful and begged Lord Chaitanya to save their lives. Lord Chaitanya delivered great scholars, government ministers, great leaders of society But Lord Nityananda delivered so many ordinary, simple people like us, even criminals and gangs of thieves. So I want to share this story with you. I hope I'm okay on time. So once a gang of thieves, because Lord Nityananda used to decorate himself with beautiful rings and bracelets and anklets and silken cloth. He was liked to dress up. So these thieves were watching him, thieves in the neighboring area, and thought, oh, we should try to steal his jewels when he's not looking. So this story is described by Vrindavan Das Thakur in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Thanks. So there was a leader of a gang of thieves who had actually been born in a Brahmana family, but he rejected all principles of sattvic or saintly life, and he was just associating with wicked materialistic people. And he had a life of stealing, cheating, and even murder. And fortunately for him, he lived in the land of Navadvip, where Lord Nityananda was performing his pastimes. So Lord Nityananda at this time was staying at the home of someone named Hiranya Pandit. And Hiranya Pandit was very poor, but his heart was very rich with pure love of God. And Lord Nityananda appreciated his company so much, and he and his associates were staying there at this house. And so this thief, he did not have such appreciation for the spiritual wealth of Lord Nityananda. He was just looking to steal. And he was looking for an opportunity when he could steal. So he was talking to his friends, and they're all, they're meditating on Lord Nityananda, but not his spiritual qualities. They're meditating on his golden bracelets and armlets and earrings and pearls and coral and jewels. And so they were so enchanted by this dazzling splendor of his wealth, and they were figuring out a time to steal. So this head of the gang, he's saying, my dear brothers, our days of suffering are about to end. We've seen the valuable jewels all in one place on the body of Lord Nityananda. We don't even have to go roaming all around looking for wealth, right? He's staying alone in the house of Hiranya Pandit, so tonight we'll go there and we'll rob everything. So they brought their daggers, their swords, their tridents, and they were outside the house. But all of a sudden they were being blinded by their ambition, and their minds were overpowered with insatiable greed. And because of their evil mentality, they didn't consider Lord Nityananda's identity that he probably knew, because he's the Supreme Personality of God, right? And so they thought, they didn't realize that they were considering him an ordinary man, and they thought, it would be easy to steal his jewels. So they're camping outside the house, and they sent a spy to investigate the plan. And the scout returned and told everyone that Lord Nityananda was eating, and his associates were all awake. So they thought they'd wait until everybody fell asleep. And so what happened was, the scout was saying, oh, these guys are in the house, and they're all dancing and shivering and crying and rolling on the ground, and their hairs are standing on end. So the spy was thinking, this will just take a few moments, right? They'll be done in a little while. So the thieves decided to wait for a few hours and then come and approach the house later. And they thought everyone would be asleep. And in the meantime, they were just dreaming of the wealth that they expected to get, right? Each one claiming, I'll take the anklets, I'll take the bracelets, I'll take the rings, right? So Lord Nityananda decided to bewilder them with his spiritual potency of illusion. And so what he did was, he, by his mystic power, he made them all fall asleep, right? They were waiting for the devotees to fall asleep. These guys all fell asleep, and they're sleeping deeply through the night. And then they wake up in the morning hearing the squawking of the crows, and the sun's already high in the sky, and they start blaming each other. Why did you fall asleep? You were supposed to be awake. They start blaming each other, right? Have you ever noticed this? Materialistic people like to blame each other for their own mistakes, right? So, but then they thought, oh, okay, somehow this is the will of the goddess Durga. She controls material nature. We'll try again tomorrow night. So then they offered meat and wine to Durga, and they decided they'd try again the next night. So then next night they go back to the house and they see these gigantic, fierce soldiers just marching around the house. Like, did you ever hear the word Vishnu Dutas? It's like the servants of Lord Vishnu. These gigantic soldiers were like patrolling around the house, and they're all chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama. And these thieves are watching, and they're seeing each one of these gigantic soldiers. They have weapons, and each one is powerful enough to kill 100 people. And so they were so mystified, they didn't know what to do, so they left. And they decided that we'll try again, and another night. These guys can't last long, right? So then they thought, well, maybe they're there to protect Lord Nityananda. Anyway, they waited a few days, and then they came a third time. Each one of them had 5 or 10 weapons. And when they came up to the house, this is Lord Nityananda's mystic potency. They came up to the house. Do you like this story? Yes. Good, right? They came up to the house, but they all went blind, they were already spiritually blind, right? But they became materially blind, and they just started crying out in agony and fear, and they were getting bitten by leeches and mosquitoes and bees, and because they were blinded, they fell into a heap of garbage, and they're just being stung by swarms of scorpions, and some of them fell on thorns, which were piercing their bodies. In other words, don't try this, right? Don't try to outsmart Lord Nityananda. So anyway, they fell in a hole and they couldn't move. And then Lord Indra, the lord of the demigods, sent a big storm with heavy rains and lightning and hailstones, and they were all shivering from such cold. And then, Lord Indra, sometimes he gets illusioned too, but he is a servant of the Supreme Lord, so he realized that these thieves had come to rob Lord Nityananda, and so he was punishing them. So then, this is the next part of the story. They had a change of heart. So suddenly, in the midst of all this terrifying storm, the leader of the thieves experienced a change of heart. This is what we're praying for, right? Aren't you praying for a change of heart? I know when I chant in between, when I try to chant, always remember to chant, but anyway, I pray for a change of heart, whatever I'm doing. So he suddenly understood Lord Nityananda is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes Prabhupada explains that in the mood of Lord Nityananda, or in the mood of Lord Balaram, or in the mood of Lakshman, in the appearance of Lord Ram, those personalities, Lakshman, Nityananda, and Balaram, they are the Supreme Personality of servitor God. So even though they're God, they're in this serving mood. So anyway, he had a change of heart, and he started regretting his plans to harm Lord Nityananda. He prayed for forgiveness, and then he took shelter of Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. And so he was praying, who can protect me from such a danger? I have no shelter other than Nityananda. And then he started saying that his only desire was to become a servant of the Lord, whether he lived or died. And then seeing this thief's sincerity, Lord Nityananda relieved the gang from their suffering and restored their eyesight. And the head thief came inside the house, and he took shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, laughing, crying, rolling on the ground, and he became a devotee of Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda blessed him and promised to nullify all his sins if he decided to stop his sinful ways from that day forward. So, and then the thief told all his gang, look at, this is the path of Krishna consciousness, you should take it up. And the Lord gave his own garland from his neck to the head thief, and he put his lotus feet on the thief's head, and then all of them decided to follow the lead of their leader. It's a good story, right? So in this way, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are always intoxicated with love of God, and they don't discriminate. Here's the point, right? They don't discriminate who's qualified or who's unqualified to receive their gifts. You know how someone is when they're drunk? You ever see a drunk person? I used to go shopping when I was in the temple in New York, and sometimes I would see a drunk person just like flat out, either dead or in a stupor on the sidewalk. And he didn't even know if his pants were falling down. So you ever see a drunk person? They didn't even know if their clothes are on or off. They don't know, they can't discriminate between right and wrong. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, because they're so intoxicated with love of God, isn't this an amazing point? They're so intoxicated with divine love of God that they don't discriminate against us, even though we are so unqualified. And it's said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that they've broken open the storehouse, the treasure house of love of God, and they're handing out that love freely to everybody, even us unqualified people. So, in conclusion, in this in-between time of sometimes even great suffering in this world for many of us, in this time between the appearance day of Lord Nityananda and the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya, I'm just suggesting, can we reflect a bit more on their precious gifts, that they promised to deliver us from what? From the cycle of birth and death in this material world. How? Just by chanting the holy name of Krishna. And my question to all of you is, can we try to deflect our faith, our trust, and our attention away from the false temporary shelters in this world of duality? And can we try to lean in, right? To take their magnanimous shelter, their most generous gift of the holy name of Krishna, and to try to trust a little bit and accept their mercy in this time when so many of us, when our false shelters are failing us, right? So I want to end with this little song. This is the end, but I just want to share this little song that celebrates their gifts. This is a song about Lord Nityananda mostly, but Lord Chaitanya too. So the song says, in the land of Nadia, which is West Bengal, Mayapur, on the island of Godrum across the river from Mayapur, the magnanimous Lord Nityananda has opened up the marketplace of the holy name, meant for the deliverance of all fallen souls. O people of faith! O people of faith! By the order of Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, O brothers and sisters, I beg these 3 requests of you. Chant Krishna's name, worship Krishna, and teach others about Krishna. Being careful to remain free of offenses. Just take the holy name of Lord Krishna. Krishna is your mother, Krishna is your father, and Krishna is the treasure of your life. Can you sing that one line for us? Just real quick. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Nana. Just that line, Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita. Beautiful. We're out of time, otherwise we could listen to you sing for an hour. But so it's beautiful, huh? Thank you. So what you're just saying is Krishna is your mother, Krishna is your father, Krishna is the treasure of your life. So then the song continues, just the last line. Giving up all sinful activities, carry on your worldly duties only in relation to Lord Krishna. The showing of compassion to other souls by loudly chanting the holy name of Krishna is the essence of all forms of religion. So thank you all so much. And thank you. I hope you have some reflections on this in-between time of suffering, or also of mercy. So it's an in-between time of suffering, but also great mercy. So what do you think? Anyone have a reflection or a question or a complaint? Shout out. I don't know if we have a microphone to pass around. I don't know if we're equipped in this room, but anyway, speak loudly. I'll repeat your question or your reflection.
Well, you were mentioning change of the heart. I wonder, does it always have to be kind of change change of the heart, it appears that it's always something severe happens. Like these thieves, they are like experiencing that and
They had a sudden change of heart, right?
But
So, yeah, does it always have to be because of a crisis?
yeah,
So Sharba's asking about this change of heart. Does it always happen because of some crisis?
suffering. Yeah.
Because of some suffering? Does it always happen suddenly? Can it happen very gradually? But let's consider that. It's a very important question, because I think this is something we long for. And sometimes we might think, well, I'm praying, but Krishna's pretty silent. Is he even hearing me? I mean, I kind of trust you, my Lord, that you are hearing me, but you're pretty quiet. And I don't really see any thunderbolts or, but I think, in my opinion, because we like to burrow into our comfort zone, we like to kind of burrow into that comfortable place. It's almost like, does it always have to be by suffering? I can't say that I really know the answer to that, but it seems to me that probably, yeah. And I was saying to someone the other day, well, why does Krishna even make suffering in this world? Why is there suffering? That's a big question. Theologians wrestle with that for centuries, all in every culture, right? But maybe the reason that he makes suffering in the first place is to kind of give us a little wake up, I was like, did you ever see those old cowboy movies where one guy gets shot, right? And the outlaws are coming and they have to run, and his buddy's there like, wake up, they're coming. So it's almost like those large and small little slaps. Prabhupada calls them pinpricks. You ever feel it? Like, oh, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Why have I been sleeping my whole life? You know what I mean? It's like those little pinpricks just wake us up. And then we can change our direction, and then we can hopefully have a change of heart. But a lot of times we like to make excuses, like, this stuff, it's not really possible. I've heard devotees say about some really nice devotee, well, he was probably just like that before. Okay, does this bhakti path really even work? So there's so many excuses we can make. But I think it's a cry of the heart. I think we have to cry for that. Please, Krishna, I've been chanting for X number of days or years or moments. Please help me realize a little bit of change of heart. Does it have to be that I'm going to get stung by scorpions and leeches and fall in a black hole and or maybe just stub my toe in my own apartment? Oh yeah. Hare Krishna, right? So I hope that's helpful. What else? Reflections or questions or doubts or complaints? Yes.
Mataji, I have a question. You say that we should put our devotion into Krishna, but it can be hard to sometimes balance devotional service to Krishna and our responsibilities. How do we do that?
What kind of work do you do in the world? What is your work?
I'm a student.
You're a student. So, have you read Bhagavad Gita? A little bit. In the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is called the yoga. Yoga means to connect. So it's called the yoga of Arjuna's depression. And he wanted to run away from the battlefield. He saw that it was a terrible situation. And Krishna told him, no. You have to fight. This is a just war. You are a warrior. You are a military man. You have to fight. But he told him, fight and think of me. So this is Bhakti Yoga. This is beginning Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, and ultimately Bhakti Yoga. It means whatever you're doing, you're a computer programmer, you're a student, you're a nurse, you're a doctor, you're a retired person, you're a mama, whatever you're doing, do it and think of Krishna. Fight and think of Krishna, because who in this world doesn't have to fight, We each have our own battlefields, right? You're at NIH, that's a battlefield right now, right? So you have to go to fight on the battlefield of NIH, and do it as an offering for Krishna. Think of Krishna, pray to Krishna that somehow or other this is a crazy situation. I don't know how it's going to come out, but I know that you're the one who's dictating all destiny of this world. So that's kind of the secret of Bhakti Yoga. Whatever you do it as an offering to Krishna. Krishna gave you certain abilities. What are you studying? You're a student. What are you studying? Aerospace. Wow. So you're no dummy. So Krishna gave you that talent. And so that talent is meant to be used for Him, right? God's gifts are meant to be used for God. If we use them for ourselves, then they become like a heavy weight that just drags us down, you know? If you look at the world, there's so many different kinds of scientists. There are theistic scientists who offer their scientific brilliance to God. And there's some who do it, you know, just for their own ego. So if you want to be a happy scientist, or you want to be happy in whatever you're doing, do it as an offering to Krishna. And then your path will be blessed. It doesn't mean there'll be no thorns, but you will have some direction and you'll have some joy. You know? Is that helpful?
Yes.
Good. What else? Yes?
What is the timeline of Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, and Nityananda?
Okay, so Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda appeared 500 years ago. Lord Chaitanya, the day of Lord Chaitanya's appearance was the year 1486. And Lord Nityananda appeared 12 years before that. So just a mere 500 years ago. And yet as I read, maybe you heard, their appearance, Lord Chaitanya's appearance was predicted thousands of years ago in the Mahabharata. So Krishna walked this earth at the end of the last Dwapara Yuga. Just when he left this world, then the Kali Yuga began. When Krishna's lotus feet left this world, the Kali Yuga entered. So that was about 5,000 years ago. So that's the time difference. So when Krishna appeared, and he said, surrender to me, think of me, offer everything to me, some people misunderstood. So he thought that he would come in a disguise as a devotee to teach the path of devotion. And Prabhupada gives a nice example. Like, any of you teachers, professors? Any professors, teachers here? Anyway, he gives this example that when the teacher's standing at the board in front of the students writing A, B, C, doesn't mean the teacher doesn't know his ABCs or her ABCs, right? But she's showing the students by her example. So this is the beautiful example of Lord Chaitanya. He taught how to be a devotee. And when people would say to him, oh, you're divinity, you're God himself, and he would hold his hands, no, you go, Vishnu, Vishnu. No, don't say that. He was posing just as a humble devotee in order to teach us. I think you had a question, yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you so much for the nice class. Mataji, I had a small reflection I wanted to share. Just yesterday, I was reading a poem. It is called The Dash, a poem by Linda Ellis. And she composed this poem at a funeral of her friend.
Wow.
And she said, usually at the funeral, there is a birth year, dash, last, death year.
So I'm going to repeat. She composed a poem for the funeral of a friend and called Dash, because usually there's a dash on someone's between their birthday and the day they pass away.
So the dash represents the in-between time.
The dash represents the in-between time.
And since you were talking about the in-between, so even though the dash is small, it is the longest part of our lives and how we live it.
Yeah.
And because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have this beautiful association of devotees. And we know what is the goal of our life by Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So it's very grateful.
Very beautiful reflection. So that dash looks so small in between the birthday and the day of passing away, but so many volumes of meaning can happen in between, right? So sometimes Prabhupada would say, just offer this one life to Krishna. We've already spent so many lives traveling through the cycles of birth and death, heavenly planets, hellish planets. We've been so many species. So just offer this one life to Krishna. Just, if you want to gamble, just gamble this one life to Krishna and see what happens. You'll be happy, and the end will be very beautiful. Thank you. The dash in between. Thank you, so beautiful. Anything else? Yes, of course.
I just wanted to when you were saying about how to the activities, like how to balance your daily activity with the service to the
How to balance the daily
Yeah.
activities.
So I was just thinking about dovetailing your activities to the Krishna service.
You know the word dovetailing? I
Yeah.
just heard Prabhupada use that word this morning. I was listening to a lecture. Any of you do carpentry?
Yes.
The dovetail joint, right?
Yes.
Put it on top. And it,
So this example is like, oh, I want to eat the strawberry instead of I want to eat the strawberry. I want to go buy a strawberry.
are you going to go buy what?
Strawberry or
I want to
like
go buy
grapes.
strawberries.
Grapes or something.
Right.
Then I said, oh, I want to offer the strawberry to the Krishna, right? Your intention is to offer the Krishna. Obviously, you offer the Krishna, you get it, right? So your daily activity to buy the strawberry or fruits for your kids, but your intention is to offer to Krishna and offer to your family.
Right. Very
So
beautiful.
basically, we can dovetail everything in the service to the Krishna.
You can offer your strawberries, you can offer your aerospace.
Yes.
You can offer
Yes.
whatever you're doing. Right? Yes. You had a microphone.
Just read, is there any advice of how we should be spending this time between Lord Chaitanya's appearance day and Lord Nityananda's?
Is there any question? Is there any
Sort of prescribed?
Yeah, is there any advice how to spend this in between time between Lord Chaitanya's appearance and Lord Nityananda's appearance and Lord Chaitanya's appearance? No, nothing that I know of, but it's just been a reflective time for me. It just seems to me a time of reflection. How are we living to receive this mercy? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm totally unqualified. So just reflect on it, Read about them, sing about them, and reflect on how can I have a change of heart, Sharava's question. How can I also have, like that thief who's a murderer, I don't know if anyone in this room was ever a murderer, but he had a real change of heart. So let's not wait until we have to be a murderer, Let's try to take the chance now and offer those even tiny things. You're washing dishes, you can do it for Krishna. You're doing your laundry. I'm doing this as an offering to Krishna. I'm walking down First Avenue in New York as an offering to Krishna. So, thank you. Anything else? Any other thoughts or reflections or complaints or questions or anything? Yes? Happy birthday. Yesterday was your birthday?
The 20th.
Happy birthday.
And thanks for the wonderful class. I haven't heard of this in between time, between the appearance days, so it was so nice to reflect on. And just a few things that stood out. I love that, I think it was your poem in the beginning, that even in the the darkness in this time, there's still so many gifts to drink in deeply, so to kind of not get overwhelmed by this kind of time, and remember that,
Drink deeply, don't take cheaply.
And the reminder to putting yourself at the center. There's no virtue.
Wasn't that an amazing quote from Pascal? All you aerospace people, all you scientists out there, here's a great scientist saying, we become unjust, we become obnoxious when we put ourselves in the center. And then when we want to make other people think we're the center. Yeah.
And then lastly, the reminders that to say to Krishna, you are the peace in our hearts, you are our only future. I feel like really puts it in perspective.
You are the peace in our hearts, you are our only future.
Yeah, because otherwise you might be kind of stuck thinking like, well, this is the present, it's so difficult, but really what we really only have is Krishna,
Right.
So that was
We might be stuck otherwise thinking all I have is this present.
Yeah.
We can, in this present, offer to Krishna, but yeah, at the end of this life, everything we know, we will be leaving, but still there's Krishna. And before this life, do I know what was there before this life, before I was born in Chicago? That's a song, I think. Paul Butterfield, Born in Chicago, somebody. Anyway, I don't know where I was, but there was Krishna. Thank you. Beautiful reflection. Thank you all so much for being here. And please try to reflect on this. May